Israel's tech sector is sounding the alarm against the government's judicial reforms. But is it bad for business? And what is the fallout?
We're saying no. No to dictatorship, yes to democracy. Because in addition to the social impact, which are terrible, it's also a big threat to the high-tech industry in Israel. It's a big threat to the goodwill that exists around the world because people do business with countries that they like to do business.
In a stormy voting session that continued late into the night on Tuesday, the Israeli parliament passed the first reading of parts of the reform, which would overhaul Israel's legal and judicial systems. If it makes it past the next two readings, then the bill will become law. One of its most controversial clauses would allow the parliament to override Supreme Court decisions with a simple majority of 61 out of 120 lawmakers. But even before it's been passed, tech entrepreneur and investor Erel Margalit says that the crisis is serious. In fact, a report in Israeli news site Kalkalist said that companies and investors already transferred over $3 billion out of the country in recent weeks.
Companies are not even making it political. Companies are making their consideration. And when they have a large amount of cash that they just raised money from international investors, they want to put it in a place that's safe. When Moody's, when Bloomberg, when the different rating agencies are beginning to talk, when investors from pension funds in Finland or sovereign funds in France or in Singapore are asking what does this mean to the business, it means that there's a question. And if there's a question, there's a hesitation. And hesitation at a time of economic and geopolitical crisis around the world is bad for business and is very dangerous.
On Monday, as the Israeli parliament prepared to vote on the reform, tens of thousands gathered in Jerusalem to protest what they view as a judicial coup. Tech leaders from around the country chanted and gave speeches, warning that the startup nation is in peril. Many of the tech workers we spoke to said that they're concerned not only about the future of Israel as a democratic state, but also about the tech industry as a whole and their jobs, which they believe are in jeopardy.
This is not a good sign for stability. This is not where investors will put their money. And everyone should ask themselves, if you're investors, will you put your money right now in Russia, in Hungary, in Poland, in Turkey?
We're afraid for the future of our democracy. And second of all, we fear for the future of our industry. The impressive high-tech industry in Israel. It took us 30 years to establish this impressive and amazing industry. And we feel that this so-called reform is now putting our future in jeopardy.
As protests erupt around the country, the Netanyahu-led government has shown no signs of slowing down with the reforms. For Erel Margalit, the damage being done to the country and the economy cannot be understated.
Remember, we had the first intifada, the second intifada. We overcame wars in Gaza, wars in Lebanon. We built the high-tech sector when things were difficult, but we were working together as Israelis, Jews, Arabs, and Jews, secular and religious, in order to hold this country together. We're saying to Netanyahu, we've built a major economy here. What you're doing is harming the economy and the social fabric of the state of Israel. And we're telling you stop, because this country is so important. Zionism, the state of Israel, was the answer to dictatorships in Europe after World War II. And the fact that we're here and we have a thriving society is something that we will fight for, just like we're fighting on our borders.
From Jerusalem, Maya Margit, reporting for the Media Line.